It's deliberately, it's people practicing oversensitivity in order to win a different political point.
That's the gaslighting that's going on, right?
I did a debate at the East London Mosque about 5 years ago, which is widely regarded as being fairly radical in the UK. And it was on this, and the entire audience were niqabis and wearing burqas. And I made the point quite often. I just didn't know who was speaking, and I thought it was quite a relevant point because it was like I don't know, where, who, we got somewhere. Yes, and I remember at one point one of the women pointed out that the reason why they did it is because there might be arousal in men, and the presenter very wisely said at one point, asked the important question, could a woman who wasn't wearing a burqa come to your house? And I would be able to take my burqa off. And they said, could Douglas come to your house? And I remember saying, I promise not to get aroused. And there was an audible inhalation of burqa. Anyhow, I think that one of the most important ground rules is this. You have to say, stop equating speech and violence. Stop saying, in all of this stuff, we need to find a way to think out loud. Okay, in a group like you're describing, any other group, we have to find a way to think out loud and to try stuff out. Sometimes it will be wrong, often it'll be right, and so on, but we have to be able to have that ability. And one of the things that's stopping it is this endless equation of a thought that you've had and have voiced with the most extreme act of violence. So, for instance, if you say X, it's people like you that are the reason why so many of these people are killing themselves. You can't have any conversation if a part of the answer is being presented in that way. And I suppose just to see the people who are doing that as just using another tactic in order to win a particular sectional point. But allowing words to be words again is the beginning of some kind of solution.
Yeah, very quickly, there's something I said about that, because on the niqab debate, they were saying that Boris shouldn't have said what he said because it will encourage hate crime against Muslim women in niqabs. Now, I'm often repeat this mantra that I came up with, that no idea is above scrutiny and no person should be beneath dignity. And I'm all for protecting the dignity of the woman inside the veil while criticizing and even mocking the fact that she has to cover her face because somehow her beauty needs to be kept wrapped up like a sweet, which is the analogy often given in mosques. Now, if you follow this principle that you can't say something because it encourages hate crime against the person you're speaking about, you can't be critical of their ideas, you could apply it both ways. So I said that I put up a status, and it's like, if we can't speak about Muslim fundamentalism because it can be used, our critique of Muslim fundamentalism can be used to encourage hate crime against Muslims, then let's not also speak about anti-Muslim bigotry, because jihadists use that to recruit people to kill non-Muslims. It's a very real thing. Jihadists are killing non-Muslims, and they use Islamophobia, I don't like that phrase, they use Islamophobia as an excuse to recruit people. So likewise, we shouldn't speak about discrimination against Muslims either, because we're encouraging hate crime. And so in the end, what we find is that we can't say anything. We want to just shut up and not speak.
Well, that's the aim.
That is indeed. So I've just got to say, don't allow for anyone to tell you that when discussing ideas, you shouldn't talk about them because what somebody else might do. Of course, everyone's individually responsible. We have to be responsible for how we speak about our own ideas, but not for how other people abuse what we're trying to say. Well, I'm quite open about my lack of devotion to any religion, and so I don't necessarily have to refer to a book to tell me it's wrong to murder a baby or rape a child. I kind of know that from inside myself and my moral compass. What I try and do is defer in recognizing the pragmatic necessity for that kind of dialogue and discourse to happen in countries like Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, where if you take some of the stances I take, you're probably going to get killed before you finish your sentence. And so there is only, to my view, there's a pragmatic way forward, and that is to have that conversation within a certain discourse that is tolerated. You cannot remove the blasphemy law in Pakistan without having a religious conversation, because it's justified using religion. And if you try and circumvent that, they will kill you. And even the governor of Punjab, which is the country's most populous province, wasn't safe from the assassin's bullet his own bodyguard shot him 9 times and killed him. And I know the family, and the consequences of what happened next are just unimaginable for some of the suffering. So the authorities caught the murderer, and so the jihadists decided to kidnap his son after having murdered the father, and then said, if you don't release the murderer, we'll kill the son as well. So in a context like that, where the governor of the wealthiest and most strongest province wasn't safe from the assassin's bullet, the only way you can have that conversation in this current climate is to speak in a language and a discourse that is tolerated. I don't do that, but at Quilliam, we have theologians that do that.